would not surprise anyone if I said that all students have problems with their teachers. Some teachers just don't like you. Some are just boring. But that's okay. Not all teachers are able to explain a subject in a way that will interest everyone. But a bad grade or a lot of homework is not the worst thing a teacher can do to you. A teacher can become the biggest enemy you will have in your life. Hi, I'm Emma, and I want to share with you my mind-blowing story. What is school to you? Friends, classes, teachers, parties, and all that stuff, right? Well, at least I got something right. For me too. But because I am a teenager, for me, school life is also about boys and relationships and dating. I've never had an army of admirers. I treasure every relationship I've ever had because Cecile and Matthew and Morris were nice and kind boys. Cecile moved with his parents to another country. Matthew was transferred to the military academy for his antics, and Morris realized that music and a rock band were more important to him than a relationship. I don't resent him for that at all. I think it's a normal and adequate choice. My point is, I'm in a relationship with Neil now. I can't say that he's the coolest guy, but I enjoy spending time with him. He gives me nice gifts, and I remember every date so well that I can describe it in detail. And I would be happy if it weren't for one but. A but named Miss Brooke. We both don't like each other, very much so. So much so that if we met and saw, we would tear each other's throats out. She disliked me first. In fact, Brooke was a student at our school a couple of grades above me. She bullied me because I was always in a relationship. I was surrounded by attention and love, smiling and laughing. Apparently, Brooke couldn't say the same about herself. She tried to make a fool of me, but it didn't work. I was tough as a rock. One day, Brooke said out loud that she was dating a very popular boy, but she couldn't say who he was so his groupies wouldn't be upset. You'd think you'd be happy in a relationship, enjoy life. But she was still bugging me and trying to hurt me in some way, playing tricks on me, and sometimes even making me feel guilty about her own screw-ups. I don't know how she did it, but every time I was able to prove that I was being set up. All in all, it was a mess from the beginning. When I found out that this witch was going to teach us, I was so mad. All summer I was getting ready. I was coming up with funnier jokes and hurtful insults. But then I thought to myself, when one becomes a teacher, a person begins to treat all students with respect and assess them with the utmost integrity. It comes with the profession. What if Brooke also changed after becoming a teacher? I've never been so wrong before. On the first day, she acted calm, as if we hadn't had a feud going on for years. At the end of class, everyone in the class took a little test, and I, confident that I would get a good grade, went home. However, the next class I was in for a surprise. Emma Pod, you failed the last test. The only one. The only one? That sounded crazy. But a huge F on my paper said otherwise. Brooke asked me the hardest questions, and if I was slightly wrong, she made me look like the biggest idiot. And that was it, every time. I told my parents about the teacher's horrible attitude, but they asked me for proof. I had no proof. I hoped my classmates would take my side, but they didn't. Why didn't Neil stand up for me, you may ask? Well, the thing is, he was a grade ahead of me. We never crossed paths with him in class, only at recess. I told him about how Miss Brooke was treating me, but my boyfriend had no influence on her. He's a student just like me. However, one day he said that he would try to talk to her, but I wish he hadn't. I don't know what exactly happened during that conversation, but after the conversation, my relationship went to hell. At first, Neil and I started going out less often, and when we finally did go out, it looked like this. We'd sort of hug, I'd kiss him, but he would respond to me in a very cold and distant way. The guy answered my questions with one word, like a robot who had been taught to say only yes or no. He did not share his worries and joys with me. He hardly told me how his day was going. We communicated better in messengers, but at some point the messaging stopped too. At first, Neil would say something like, "It's okay," or "No need to worry." And then he stopped reading my messages altogether. My parents told me to talk to him in person, but it's not hard to guess that it was almost impossible. Brooke was really getting to me. Every day, her remarks got more sarcastic and hurtful, and I couldn't hold myself together anymore. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on. And then one day at lunchtime, I overheard one conversation that really put everything in perspective. I know it's wrong to eavesdrop, but when it's about the person you love, you forget about everything, and you just turn into one big ear, forgetting about morality. I don't know what those girls' names were, but they said something like this. Did you ask Doug out? No. Should I? I just don't know what to do in this situation. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Did you hear? Heard what? Rumor has it that Miss Brooke has a boyfriend. They're saying it's someone from our school. Oh, really? You're kidding, right? No, there are even pictures online of them having a nice time in the cafeteria. And who is he? Neil. Neil? But he's got, no one knows all the details, but I'm sorry for the one he left. After what I heard, I couldn't control myself anymore. I locked myself in the ladies' room and cried for the rest of the recess. I tried to figure out why he left me for her. Maybe she stole him. I decided to get all the details from the other gossip girls at school before I decided how to deal with it. This is going to sound weird, but I was relieved when I found out Brooke had done everything she could to get Neil away from me. I didn't even want to think about exactly how she did it. I just hoped everything would be okay. In class, I could hear a hint in every word Brooke said that my boyfriend belonged to her now. It hurt so badly. That's why I once again went to my parents for advice. My story really surprised them, but they encouraged me to resolve it peacefully, to get out of my comfort zone and discuss our disagreements with Brooke. With full confidence that I could make it work, I showed up early the following day. I didn't want any of the students to hear us. Brooke was surprised by my boldness. She was even more surprised by my complaints about the situation with Neil. She advised me to do better in school and study more instead of thinking about boys all the time. In her look, I read, "You're the one who's going to have the hardest time." I was really mad at Brooke. No one wanted to help me, except maybe my parents. I tried a few more times to talk to the teacher, but she just kept avoiding the conversation. I had no choice but to deal with it the wrong way. I started plotting my revenge, just like in the movie Home Alone. I decided I had to expose Brooke in the worst possible light in front of the whole school, by finding some pictures on her social media profiles that could be considered revealing and put them up on a dating site. I waited for guys to write to me, looking for a date. I didn't have to wait long. I responded to each message with seductive, straightforward phrases. When I got a reply to those, too, I took screenshots and compiled them, along with pictures, into a large collage. Then I had to find a recipe for artificial blood. Oh, I spent a lot of time on that one to figure out the right compound that would look as realistic as possible. I wanted to set up a nice scene right in class and get Brooke to hit me. Then I would show my classmates the blood, and everyone would believe that our teacher was insane and a danger to the kids. It sounds creepy, but put yourself in my shoes. After all, she stole my boyfriend, a good one, and I liked him. When I completed the first 2 steps, I started working on the third one. I photoshopped fake pictures of her and Neil together. Why couldn't I find the pictures the gossip girls mentioned? Because they were nowhere to be found. Teachers aren't allowed to have relationships with students, and if no one has proof, I'll do it myself. That's how I decided to start my revenge. I chose the day when the whole school gathered in a large hall to wish our principal a happy birthday. Brooke was supposed to be there, which meant I could sneak into her office. I brought a printout of the collage, and I was going to hang it on the door of her office, and pictures that I wanted to slip someplace where the students would find them. But where? Put them on the desk? Too obvious. Hide them inside the desk? The drawers are locked. Besides, who's going to look in there but her? And that's when I saw the textbooks and supplementary materials lying in a small pile on the desk. I put the pictures in one of the books, and then I noticed a small black bag. It was Brooke's bag. I wondered if I could find any more evidence inside. Maybe some notes from Neil, gifts from him. The thought of my boyfriend writing a love letter to her made me furious. I was so angry that I forgot about caution, grabbed the bag, and peeked inside. The most suspicious thing I found was a notebook. I couldn't wait to find out what was in it. The book turned out to be Brooke's personal journal. I didn't know what was worse, breaking into a teacher's bag or reading her private notes. But I didn't even notice how I started flipping through it page by page to figure out what was in the mind of my enemy. The first thing I learned from the diary was that the mega popular guy in high school was total fiction, a hoax for all of us to make us think Brooke was cool. In reality, she never really got along with boys. So how was she able to steal my Neil? When I got to the recent events in the journal, my mouth literally dropped in shock. What an idiot I have been! Brooke wrote that she was really worried about me, and she saw a lot of potential in me. She was jealous of my abilities and talents, but she knew that I could miss out on all of it because I spent too much time with my boyfriends instead of studying. She encouraged Neil to stop talking to me, hoping that I'd take my mind off dating and study harder. As for the gossip, it was only gossip, but I dug a hole for myself with it. I immediately abandoned my terrible plan. I returned to the diary and the bag and left the office. From that day on, my life changed. I made a firm decision to study harder. I prepared for my classes all night long, and not just the ones Miss Brooke taught. I mean, the things I could have caused because I was in love ruin a teacher's life just because I was fixated on Neil. No, this will never happen again. Have you ever had a conflict with a teacher? Tell me in the comments why it happened and how it ended for you.